Whether you're preparing for sleep, seeking a moment of calm during a hectic day, or simply looking to relax, welcome to Eerie Embers. Don't forget to like, subscribe, also share some stories from your part of the world. Hit the lights, get comfy, and let's begin the journey. This happened to me a few weeks ago, and I still don't really know what to make of it. I've been debating whether or not to post this because it sounds made up. But I swear on everything, this happened exactly as I remember it. If you've ever had something mess with your perception of reality like this, maybe you'll understand. I work late. I'm a bartender at a spot downtown. And since I don't have a car, I walk home most nights. It's not a far walk, maybe 25 minutes, but it's long enough that I always have earbuds in and try to keep to well-lit roads. Thing is, a couple of weeks ago, my phone died before my shift ended. Left my charger at home like an idiot, so I was stuck doing the walk in complete silence. No music, no podcasts, no distraction. Just me, my footsteps, and the occasional car passing in the distance. It was around 2:15 a.m. when I clocked out. The streets were mostly empty. I left the main road pretty early on, cutting through a neighborhood I've passed through 100 times. It's not dangerous or sketchy or anything, just quiet. A couple of streetlights were flickering, but nothing unusual. Then I noticed the footsteps. At first, I didn't think much of it. You know how your mind plays tricks on you when you're alone at night? I thought maybe I was just hearing the echo of my own steps bouncing off the buildings. But it kept happening, step for step. Every time I walked, I could hear a second set of feet just a split second behind mine. I slowed down. The other steps slowed too. I stopped. They stopped. I turned around fast, like really fast, hoping to catch whoever it was off guard. But there was nothing. The street behind me was empty. No cars, no people, just shadows. I stood there for a while, trying to convince myself it was just an echo. Maybe my tired brain was just exaggerating it because I didn't have music to drown it out. I even stomped my feet a couple times, trying to hear if the sound bounced back in a weird way. It didn't. I started walking again, a little faster. So did the other steps. This time I didn't stop. I just kept walking, trying to ignore it. Every so often I'd look behind me. Still no one. I even crossed the street, figuring if someone was following me, they'd have to show themselves to keep pace. But the sound didn't change. It followed me across the road, perfectly timed. That's when I started to feel it, like a pressure behind me. You know the feeling when someone stands just a little too close. It was like that. But there was no one there. My apartment is on the 3rd floor of a small building. No elevator. I have to go through a little side alley to get to the stairs. As I turned into the alley, the streetlight above flickered once, then went out. Of course it did. I pulled my keys out and held them like a weapon between my fingers, like you're supposed to do. Not that I think that would have helped. I took the stairs fast, still hearing those damn steps behind me, matching my pace. When I hit the third floor landing, I spun around one last time, thinking maybe I'd catch a glimpse of a shadow or something. Nothing, but the footsteps, they kept going. I stopped on the landing. Click, click. 2 more steps after mine. Like something was just behind, just out of reach. And then it stopped, too. I fumbled with my keys, got inside, and slammed the door. Locked it. Deadbolt, chain, everything. I didn't even turn on the lights. I just stood there, pressed against the door, listening. Silence. Then soft steps. Deliberate, not rushed. Like someone pacing just outside my apartment door. I held my breath. I didn't move. I know that sounds cliché, but I didn't even breathe. It felt like if I made a sound, whatever was out there would know. The pacing stopped. Something tapped the door once. Just a single knock. Not loud, not aggressive. Just enough to let me know it was still there. Then nothing. I waited. I don't know how long. Could have been 5 minutes. Could have been 30. Finally, I worked up the nerve to look through the peephole. The hallway was empty. I didn't sleep that night. I left the lights on, sat in the living room with a baseball bat, and waited for the sun to come up. Nothing else happened. No knocks, no more footsteps. It was like it just gave up. I've been driving to work since then. Borrowed a car from my brother. I haven't walked that route again, and I don't plan to. But here's the part that's been eating at me. 2 nights ago, I was taking the trash out back behind my building. There's this long, narrow corridor next to the dumpster, like an alley between buildings. I dumped the bag, turned around to head back inside, and I heard it. Footsteps, just 2, like something taking a few steps to follow me before freezing again. I ran. I don't know what this thing is, or why it's attached to me now, but I think it followed me home that night. I don't know if it ever left. I've been hearing faint footsteps from time to time inside the apartment. Always just 1 or 2. Never when anyone else is around. I told myself maybe it's the pipes, or the neighbors, or the old building settling. But deep down, I know it's still here, and it's waiting for me to walk again. This happened last year, but I still think about it every time I walk anywhere after dark. I haven't told many people because it just sounds like some creepy pasta crap, but I swear it's real. I'm posting this here because if anyone's experienced something similar, please tell me. I need to know I'm not the only one. So this was in October of last year. I remember because it was getting colder at night, and I was walking home from my friend Mike's place. We'd been hanging out, just playing video games and watching a few dumb horror movies. I left around 1:30 a.m. It wasn't too far of a walk, maybe 15 minutes through a quiet part of town. Mostly residential, older buildings, and a few businesses that close early. The shortcut, I usually take runs past a series of alleys between two rows of older brick buildings. The kind of alleys that are narrow, dark, and just wide enough for a small car to squeeze through. The buildings are tall and packed close, so it's usually dead silent and shadowed at night. I don't usually get freaked out. I'm a 6-foot guy and pretty confident walking around alone. But that night felt off. I had my hands in my jacket pockets and was halfway down the block when I glanced to my right and saw him. A man, just standing at the end of one of the alleys, not moving, not leaning, not walking, just standing there. He was maybe 20 feet into the alley, under a busted old light that was flickering like it was about to go out. He was dressed in dark clothes, black jeans, black hoodie, and his face was pale, like really pale. What stuck with me wasn't just the way he stood or where he was. It was his face. He was staring at me, like directly at me, and he wasn't blinking. At first, I did that thing where you try to play it cool, like, oh, maybe he's just waiting for someone. Or maybe he's drunk, or high, or lost. But as I walked past the alley, I turned my head slightly to check again. Still there, still staring, still not blinking. And I swear, and this is the part that makes my skin crawl just writing it, I could feel it. I could feel his eyes on me, like the weight of them. You ever have someone stare at you from across a room, and you just know before you even look? Multiply that by 10. I picked up my pace, not running, but definitely not strolling anymore. I told myself I wouldn't look back. That's what horror movies always get wrong, right? The protagonist has to look back. I made it to the end of the block, and of course, looked back. He was standing closer. Same alley, but not where he was before. He'd moved up to the very edge of it, still standing in the shadows, still staring, still not blinking. I froze for a second. My heart was pounding. I looked down the street, still empty. No headlights, no footsteps, just me and him. I took out my phone. Thought maybe I'd call Mike and tell him what was happening. Maybe have him stay on the line while I walked the rest of the way home. Phone was dead. It had been at 40% an hour earlier. At this point, I said screw it and started speed walking. I didn't run. I didn't want to make it a chase, but I wasn't about to stick around. Every few seconds, I'd glance over my shoulder. Each time, he was closer. He wasn't running. He wasn't walking, even. He just appeared. 1 second, he was 50 feet behind. Then 30. Then at the mouth of another alley, closer to the direction I was heading. Like he knew where I was going. That's when panic set in. My shortcut became a maze of shadows and narrow spaces, and I couldn't bring myself to take another alley. I stayed on the sidewalk, stuck to the streetlights, but the guy was always just 1 block over, 1 corner away. I never saw him move. I just saw where he wasn't, and then suddenly was. By the time I reached the gas station near my street, I was soaked in sweat. The place was closed, lights off, but I stood under the awning just to feel like I was somewhere public, somewhere with cameras. I turned in every direction, trying to spot him. Nothing. I sprinted the last 3 blocks home, locked the door, checked all the windows, turned every light on in the apartment. I even grabbed a kitchen knife and kept it next to me on the couch while I sat there shaking. I didn't sleep until the sun came up. Next day, I told Mike about it. He joked that I'd watched too many horror movies that night, but then got quiet when I described the guy's face. Pale, blank, just empty, like a mannequin or something that looked human, but wasn't. He said, "Wait, did he blink at all?" I told him no. Mike just nodded and didn't say anything else. Weeks went by and I didn't see him again. I avoided that alley, of course. Took longer routes. Always made sure my phone was charged. Nothing weird happened until about a month later. It was a Saturday morning. Bright, sunny, totally normal. I went to the corner coffee shop. Just your typical weekend thing. I ordered, turned to grab a seat by the window. And there he was, across the street, just standing there, in broad daylight. He wasn't staring anymore. His head was tilted slightly downward, like he was waiting, like he was being patient. I blinked and he was gone. I haven't seen him since. But sometimes, when I'm walking at night, I pass a narrow alley or a dark doorway, and I feel it again, that pressure, that watching feeling. I haven't told anyone else. But if you ever see a man standing in an alley, pale face, no blinking, don't stop, don't look, and whatever you do, don't let him see your face. This happened to me last summer, and it changed the way I think about being alone outside. I used to love taking long walks at night. I found them peaceful, just me, the sound of cicadas, maybe a podcast, or music if I felt like it. I live on the edge of a small town in Pennsylvania, surrounded by woods and open fields. Quiet place. Too quiet, maybe. Anyway, it was sometime in early July. Still warm enough at night to walk in a t-shirt, and the moon was bright. I remember it was a full moon because it lit up the road so well I didn't need a flashlight. left the house around 10:45 p.m., heading down my usual path. A long, winding country road with maybe 2 or 3 houses spaced far apart. I'd walked about 1.5 miles when I noticed something strange. Silence, like total silence. No wind, no insects, no distant cars, just nothing. At first, I figured I'd just zoned out and hadn't noticed the sounds fade. But then I stopped walking to really listen. I even pulled my earbuds out, just in case I'd left them in without realizing. Still nothing. No leaves rustling. No dogs barking. No crickets. Just a heavy, oppressive stillness. I don't know how to describe it better than to say it felt like the world was holding its breath. I stood there for a minute, waiting for some noise to return. But the silence wasn't peaceful. It wasn't like a calm morning or a snowy night. It felt wrong, like something was about to happen, and nature itself was trying not to draw attention to me. I tried to shake it off and started walking again. But now I was hyper-aware. My footsteps were the only sound in the world. I even coughed loudly at one point, just to make a sound and break the tension. It echoed back way louder than it should have. That's when I saw the shape. About 100 feet ahead of me, just off the road in the ditch, something was standing. Or crouching. I couldn't tell. It was dark and half hidden in the tall grass. But I saw the outline of it, big, human-shaped, but wrong. Too tall if it was crouching. Too thin if it was standing. The moonlight hit part of its shoulder, but not the face. I froze, and so did it. We just stood there, and then it turned its head toward me fast, like a reflex. And I swear to God, I felt the pressure of its gaze. Like someone pressing 2 fingers into the center of my chest. The silence somehow got heavier. I took a step back. So did it. I took another. It didn't move. I thought maybe I was imagining it. Moonlight plays tricks. So I took out my phone to use the flashlight. But the second I turned the screen on, the shape moved. Fast. I didn't even get the light on before it was gone. Just vanished into the trees without a sound. No snapping twigs, no rustling leaves, no heavy footfalls. Still dead silent. I didn't run. I wanted to, but something in me said not to. It wasn't bravery, it was instinct. The kind of instinct that tells you you're being watched, and running will make you prey. So I walked, carefully, slowly, every nerve in my body screaming at me to get the hell out of there. I walked the whole way back home without hearing a single sound. Not one. Not even when I got to my driveway and opened the front door. Even inside the house, it was like someone had sucked all the air out of the world. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. as I stepped into the kitchen boom. A loud crack of thunder, completely out of nowhere. No warning, no wind, no lightning first, just thunder like a gunshot. The windows rattled, and just like that, everything came back. Crickets, distant dogs barking, the hum of the fridge, the sound of my own shaky breathing. I don't know what it was, but I've had time to think. Time to really obsess over it, which I've done way more than I want to admit. Here's the thing. I started noticing these silences happen again. Not every night, not even every week, but they do happen. Once I was sitting on my porch around midnight, just scrolling on my phone. It was a normal night, breeze blowing, bugs chirping, and then silence. Like someone flipped a switch. I didn't wait around that time. I went back inside and locked the door. Another time, it happened at the grocery store parking lot. During the day, birds stopped chirping. No carts rattling, no tires screeching. Just nothing. I looked around and saw 3 other people just standing still, wide-eyed, like they felt it too. Then, noise came back. Everyone went back to what they were doing like nothing had happened. Maybe that thing I saw in the ditch wasn't a one-time encounter. Maybe the silence isn't a symptom. Maybe it's a warning. I don't walk at night anymore. I don't even go out alone if I can help it. I've started to recognize the signs. The still air, the drop in pressure, the tension in my gut before it hits. I think the world knows when something unnatural is near, and it shuts up to keep from being noticed. I don't write. I don't post stories. I don't know where else to talk about this. It's been a few days, and I still feel like I'm losing my mind. My name's Chris. I live in a small apartment building in Baltimore. Nothing fancy. 6 units, mostly quiet people. The kind of place where you hear the pipes moan more than you hear the neighbors. I work night shifts at a hotel downtown, so I'm used to weird sounds at weird hours. But this was different. This was wrong. It happened 4 nights ago. Just after 3 a.m., I'd gotten home around 2:15, poured myself a drink, and sat on the couch watching YouTube with the volume low. Around 3:10, I realized I left a bag of trash in the hallway by the door, my usual lazy system, so I don't forget to take it out. I figured I might as well just toss it before bed. Now, the dumpster for our building is behind it, in a small fenced-in area next to the parking lot. I've done this 100 times. Usually, raccoons scatter when they hear you coming, and it smells like death, but you deal with it. What made this night different was the sound. I was halfway down the back steps when I heard it. A baby crying. Soft at first, muffled, almost like it was coming from far away or through a wall. My first thought was that one of the neighbors left their window open and their baby monitor was picking something up. But as I got closer to the dumpster, it got louder, clearer. A baby, definitely a baby, crying from inside the dumpster. I froze. Look, I don't care how tired or buzzed you are hearing a baby cry from inside a dumpster snaps you sober real fast. My brain kicked into overdrive. Maybe someone abandoned a baby. Maybe it's a speaker or something. Is someone playing a prank? But it sounded real. Painfully real. Gurgling, shrieking. That awful choking cry newborns make when they're screaming so hard they stop for a second to breathe. I dropped the trash bag right there on the pavement and ran to the dumpster. I said hello. No answer, just more crying. My heart was pounding. I climbed up the side of the thing and opened the heavy black lid. It stopped, like instantly. No echo, no slow fade, just total silence, like someone hit mute. I shined my phone flashlight in. Nothing. No baby. No speaker. Just trash. Some food containers, torn up cardboard, a broken umbrella, and a busted lamp I recognized from apartment 3. I stared for a while, even moved a few things around gently, just in case, but it was empty. Nothing living. Nothing that could have made a sound. The silence was thick, like the air had stopped moving. And then I felt something, like I was being watched, like something beneath the trash was watching me. I slammed the lid shut, jumped down, and backed away. The whole walk back up to my apartment, I kept looking over my shoulder. I locked the door behind me, drew the curtains, and sat on the couch shaking. I didn't sleep. I just sat there, holding a kitchen knife, waiting for, I don't even know what. Something to explain it. Something to end it. Next morning, I told my neighbor Liz about it. She's in her 40s, real blunt, no-nonsense type. She lives in Unit 1, closest to the back steps. I said, "Hey, did you hear anything weird last night?" She raised an eyebrow. What kind of weird? Like a baby crying from the dumpster. Her face changed, just slightly, tight around the mouth, but she nodded. "I heard it 2 weeks ago," she said. "Didn't say anything. Figured it was a messed up dream." She paused. "You opened it." I nodded. She sucked her teeth and said, "You shouldn't have." That messed me up more than I'll admit. What did she mean? Why shouldn't I have? She didn't explain. I asked the landlord later that day if anything strange had happened around the building. Noise complaints, vandalism, anything. He just shrugged and told me the cameras out back hadn't worked in over a year. That night, I stayed inside. Around 2:50 a.m., I muted the TV and sat in the dark, listening. At exactly 3, 08 a.m., I heard it again. The baby. Same sound. Same cry. This time from right outside my window. I live on the second floor. I didn't open the curtain. I didn't look. I sat there holding my breath, sweating, trying not to exist too loudly. The crying went on for maybe 30 seconds, then stopped mid-scream. Just cut off. The next morning, I checked out back in broad daylight. The dumpster was empty. Pickup had been that morning, but something had scratched the outside of it. Deep, jagged lines like claw marks. Way too high up for a raccoon or dog. I haven't heard the baby since. Not yet, anyway. But I also haven't taken out the trash after dark. I leave it inside and deal with it in the morning, even if it stinks. Here's the thing that gets me, though. I Googled it. Baby crying in dumpster. I thought maybe it was a fox or something. Turns out, lots of people have reported hearing the same thing. Usually around 3 a.m., always near dumpst. RS, always alone. Never any sign of a baby. Some people say it's a lure. That it's not trying to scare you. It's trying to make you open the lid. I don't know what happens if you stay too long looking inside. I don't want to find out. If you ever hear it, don't open the lid. Don't check. Don't look. Just leave the trash and go back inside and pray it doesn't follow you. This happened about a year ago, and it still messes with my head more than I want to admit. It wasn't dramatic or movie-level scary. It was subtle, quiet, but maybe that's why it stuck with me. It felt personal. For context, I live alone in a rented duplex in New Hampshire. Pretty chill town, boring even. I'm not some horror buff or ghost hunter or anything. I'm just a bartender who keeps weird hours and mostly wants to be left alone. I've got a few friends, no pets, and no wild stories, except this one. I guess the story starts with my brother Nick. He died 2 years ago. Motorcycle crash. It was sudden, brutal, and clean, if that makes sense. I didn't get to say goodbye. We weren't super close, but we were better than a lot of siblings, I think. Talked every couple weeks. Laughed at dumb movies. Texted memes. After he died, I kept expecting something. A dream, a sign, something spiritual, I guess. But there was nothing. Just emptiness. Until that night. It was late, like 1:30 a.m. And I was doing the usual. Scrolling through trash on my phone, putting off sleep. The house was dead quiet. I turned off the TV an hour earlier, and the only light was from my bedside lamp. I remember distinctly because I was half thinking about turning it off and just accepting my fate as a sleepless zombie. Then I heard it. A whisper right behind me. Matt. My name. Just that. In a low, hoarse whisper that slid down my spine like ice water. At first, thought I imagined it. Auditory hallucinations aren't unheard of when you're sleep deprived. But then I realized something that made my blood run cold. It sounded like Nick, but not exactly. Like 85% Nick. Like someone doing an impression of him, but the pitch was off and the voice was too wet somehow. Like they had water in their throat. I whipped around. Nothing there. My room's small bed, desk, one window, closet. Nowhere to hide. The door was closed. The window, too. I stood up slowly, every inch of me prickling. I don't get scared easily, but this wasn't normal. I checked the closet, under the bed, even opened the door and looked down the hallway. Silence. I told myself it was stress. Grief playing tricks. Maybe some sound from outside had gotten twisted in my half-asleep brain. So I got back in bed, turned off the light, and tried to ignore how fast my heart was pounding. 5 minutes later, I heard it again. Closer, louder, Matt, same distorted whisper. But this time, I felt the air move, like someone leaned in and breathed it into my ear. I jumped up and turned the light on, heart absolutely hammering. I stood in the middle of the room like a maniac, just listening. My ears strained so hard they hurt. Nothing, not even the fridge humming. Just this awful stillness, like the whole house was holding its breath. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch with a baseball bat and every light in the house on, scrolling through paranormal forums like a desperate lunatic. I wanted someone to tell me I was just tired, or that grief could do this, or that this was some textbook case of sleep paralysis. But it wasn't sleep paralysis. I was awake. I was moving. And I heard it. The next night, I tried to tell myself it wouldn't happen again. That I was being dramatic. I even left a light on, just in case. But around 1:40 a.m., it happened again. This time I was in the kitchen, rinsing a mug, when I heard it right behind me. So close, I felt the warmth of breath on my neck. Matt, I dropped the mug. It shattered in the sink. I turned around fast enough to give myself whiplash. Empty kitchen, just the faint smell of soap. That's when I noticed something else. The mirror above the sink had fogged up, like someone had exhaled onto it. I swear to you, I stared at it, heart in my throat. And slowly, letters started to form in the fog, like someone was tracing a finger through the condensation. Just 3 letters, H-I. I ran. I don't care how cowardly it sounds. I ran outside barefoot into the cold, panting like I'd sprinted a mile. I stayed out there for almost an hour before I went back inside. When I did, the mirror was clean. No fog, no letters, just a normal bathroom again. That's when I started sleeping at my friend Jess's place. I didn't explain everything, just said my apartment felt weird. She let me crash on her couch for 3 nights. And guess what? Nothing happened. No whispers. No foggy messages. No weird cold air or voices trying to sound like dead people. I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it all. Then, the 4th night at Jess's, I was dozing off when I felt something tickle my ear. Found you. Same damn whisper. Same almost Nick voice. I screamed loud enough to wake Jess and her roommates. They thought someone had broken in. We checked the whole place. Nothing. No signs of entry. But in the bathroom mirror, on her mirror this time, there was a single fingerprint smeared in the fog on the glass. I went home the next day. I didn't know what else to do. I saged the place, said prayers even though I'm not religious. I put salt by the doors like I'd read online. I even played one of Nick's favorite songs out loud and told him if it was him to go in peace, that I missed him, but he couldn't stay. It's been quiet since. No more whispers. No more breath on my neck. No more mirrors fogging up when they shouldn't. But I keep thinking about that voice. About how close it got. About how it knew my name. How it sounded so close to Nick, but not quite right. Whatever it was, it wanted me to think it was him. And that scares me more than anything else. Because if it wasn't my brother, who or what was calling my name? My name's Danny. I'm a senior at a university in Illinois. I live off campus, about a 25-minute walk from the main buildings, down by the old warehouse district. Rent's cheaper down here, and I like the quiet. Most of the buildings are abandoned factories or old offices that haven't been used since the 90s. It's a little creepy at night, sure, but I've always felt safe. Until now. So last Thursday, I had a late night in the architecture lab. We were working on final projects, and time just slipped. I didn't leave the building until almost 2:45 a.m. I didn't think much of it, just packed my sketchbook and laptop, threw on my jacket, and started walking home. Headphones in low volume. It was chilly, and the streets were dead empty. That's when I noticed something weird. There was someone standing in the window of the old Hallbrook paper building. If you don't know it, it's this massive 5-story building that's been abandoned since forever. Half the windows are broken or boarded up, and the front door has a rusted chain on it. It's the kind of place that smells like asbestos and dead pigeons. But on the 2nd floor, in the 3rd window from the left, I saw a silhouette. A person, not moving, not pacing, just standing there facing out, watching. At first, I thought it was my reflection or a trick of the streetlight. But I stopped, stepped left, then right, and the figure didn't move with me. They were really there, And the worst part, they weren't backlit. There were no lights on in the building, but I could still see the outline. Not a shadow, more like a person made of shadow. I was freaked out, but I told myself it was probably some squatter or random weirdo. I mean, college town, right? I walked faster. About a block down is another old office building, 3 floors, all windows still intact. As I passed it, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. I turned. There was a figure in the middle window. Same height, same build, same stillness, same sense that they were looking right at me. I stopped breathing for a second. It was like deja vu, but worse. Like the world had glitched and reset something, but forgot to cover its tracks. I kept walking, but slower now, watching every building as I passed. And I swear to you, every single window, everyone had someone in it. Some had just one. Others had a figure in every room, like a row of mannequins, all frozen mid-stare. Some were barely visible. Others were clear as day, and they were all the same. Same height, same outline, same motionless, human-shaped absence of light. It was like being watched by 100 identical strangers from every direction. I considered turning around, maybe going back to campus and crashing in the lounge. But something told me not to. Like some part of me knew if I turned around, I'd see them behind me too. And if I saw them from behind, they wouldn't stay still anymore. I don't know why I felt that way. It wasn't logical. It was just instinct, the kind that makes your skin crawl, even if you're standing in sunlight. So I kept moving, refusing to look back. Then I reached the intersection by the old bakery, just 2 blocks from my place. I turned the corner and I froze, because ahead of me, across the street, was a tall brick building with dozens of narrow windows, and every single one had a figure in it, lined up perfectly, each one still, facing forward, watching. And one by one, as I stood there, the streetlights on that block began to flicker and go out. Pop, 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 until I was standing in the dark, with nothing but the dull glow of the moon. I backed up. I couldn't help it. My legs were shaking, and as I did, I saw something that almost made me throw up. One of the figures, it moved, just slightly, its head tilted, like a dog trying to understand what it was looking at. Then the one next to it did the same. Then another, each one tilting, turning, and then they stepped away from the windows. All of them at once, not running, not lunging, just disappearing into the shadows behind the glass, like they'd seen enough. I don't remember getting home. I don't remember unlocking the door. I just remember slamming it behind me, locking the bolt, and sitting on the floor with my back against it, gasping for breath. I didn't sleep that night. I've avoided walking that route ever since. I take the long way, through the residential area, well lit, loud, crowded. I tried to tell myself it was stress, sleep deprivation, a hallucination maybe. But then, just this morning, I went to open my blinds. Sun was up, birds were out, and across the street, in the window of the vacant house that's been for sale for months, there was a figure, still silent, watching me. Same height, same shape, same feeling in my stomach, like my body wanted to crawl out of itself. I blinked, gone, but I know what I saw. They're not just in the windows anymore. My name's Ben. I live in Vermont, and I rent a small apartment in a quiet town near the Green Mountains. Not the ski part, just the sleepy back roads and forest kind. My apartment is part of a 3-unit house at the edge of town, right where pavement turns to dirt. Behind the building, there's about 200 feet of backyard, and then it's just woods. Endless, old, dark woods. I like to hike, so I've explored back there a bunch. There's no trail, but I'd marked a path of my own over the past year. Just a casual loop I could walk in maybe 20 or 30 minutes when I needed to clear my head. Usually, I'd just follow the mossy ridge line down, cross over the old logging road, then head back toward the sound of the creek near my place. Easy. Anyway, this happened mid-October. It was a Thursday. I only remember because I'd worked from home that day and had a rough meeting with my boss around 4 p.m. He'd blindsided me with some passive-aggressive crap about deadlines, and I needed to walk it off. So I threw on a hoodie, grabbed my headphones, and headed into the woods before it got dark. It was a little after 5. Sun was low, but still bright enough to see. About 10 minutes in, I started feeling weird. Not scared exactly, just off, like the trees were watching me, like I wasn't alone, even though I knew I was. I figured it was just the adrenaline from the work drama messing with me, so I tried to shake it off. But then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. I passed the same down tree twice. It's a huge old birch, rotting on one side, split open like a wet cigar. I know that tree. It's part of the loop I take every time, but I shouldn't have seen it twice. Not unless I was walking in circles. So I stopped and checked my compass app on my phone. North was still where I expected it to be. I thought maybe I'd just veered too far right, so I made a hard left and kept walking. 10 minutes later, I was back at the same tree. Now I was getting creeped out. I wasn't lost, not really. I could hear the faint sound of the creek near my apartment. I figured if I just headed toward that, I'd get out. So I followed the sound. Except the sound started moving. At first, it was ahead of me. Then it was to my right. Then behind. Every time I stopped to listen, it shifted again, like it was circling me. That's when the panic started to kick in. I tried to retrace my steps, thinking maybe I'd looped unintentionally. But nothing looked familiar anymore. No moss ridge. No logging road. Just trees. Trees and silence. Actually, that's what really scared me. The silence. It was dead quiet. No birds. No wind. No leaves rustling. Even the sound of my own footsteps felt muffled, like I was walking through a dream. I pulled out my phone again. No signal. The compass needle was just spinning. Literally spinning in slow, useless circles. I stood there for a full minute, heart pounding, and tried to calm myself down. I wasn't far from home. Worst case, I could walk in a straight line for long enough and hit the road. So that's what I did. I picked a direction, lined myself up between two trees, and walked in as straight a line as I could manage. I must have walked for 15 minutes, and when I looked up, there was the same damn downed birch tree. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I felt this sick, hopeless relief, like my brain had finally accepted something was wrong. This wasn't normal. This wasn't possible. I tried marking a tree with my pocket knife. Cut a big X in the bark and left a stick leaning against it. 10 minutes later, I was back at the same tree. Same X, same stick. This happened 3 more times. No matter what I did, which way I turned, how far I walked, I always ended up back at that tree. I stopped using my phone because the battery was draining fast, and I didn't want to be left in the dark. And that's exactly what happened anyway. I don't know how long I was out there, but the light faded. The woods got darker and darker, and still the silence stayed thick and heavy. At one point, I screamed, "Just let it rip." A full, desperate, guttural shout. It didn't echo. That was the worst part. It was like the forest swallowed the sound whole. Like the air was made of wool. Then I heard something. Not an animal. A voice. It whispered my name. Not from ahead, not behind. From everywhere. Ben. Quiet, breathless. Like it was inside my skull. I ran. I didn't care what direction anymore. I just ran. Crashing through brush and branches, scraping my legs, and catching my hoodie on bark. I ran until my lungs burned. I tripped hard over a rock or a root. I don't even know. Smacked my face into the ground. Everything spun. When I sat up, I saw porch lights. My building. I was standing at the edge of the backyard. Somehow I was out. I don't remember the walk back. I don't remember unlocking the door. I just remember falling onto my bed, fully clothed, shaking. M. Y legs were scratched. My lip was bleeding, and my phone said it was 3:12 a.m. That was almost 10 hours. I was 10 minutes from my house, and I lost 10 hours. I haven't gone back into those woods since. Some days I hear birds out there. Other days, nothing. And once in a while, usually around 3 a.m., I'll wake up and swear I can hear the creek right outside my window. But it always fades before I can be sure. So yeah, that's my story. I got lost in the woods behind my apartment. Except I don't think I got lost. I think I got taken. And I'm not sure whatever brought me back brought all of me with it.